Some of us have feathers, some of us have fins, some of us are furry, some of us have grins. We swim and hop and slither, we leap and soar and run, and we all live together on a planet of the sun. We are all earthlings. We are all earthlings, spinning around together on a planet of the sun. We live in the desert. We live inside a tree. We live high on a mountain or deep beneath the sea. We live in tents and cabins, in houses just for one. And we all live together on a planet of the sun. We are all earthlings. We are all earthlings, spinning around together on a planet of the sun. Floating down a river, swinging through the trees, climbing up a mountain and going with the breeze. All of us can have a happy, healthy place to be if we can float and swim and climb in earthling harmony. We are all earthlings. We are all earthlings, spinning around together on a planet of the sun. Spinning around together on a planet of the sun.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Justin Wilson. I'm the Congregational Life Coordinator here at First Universalist Church of Rochester, and it is my honor to welcome you all here this morning, especially if it is your first time here this morning. We especially welcome you. I just want to extend the greeting that you belong because you are here. Thank you for making it to our worshiping community. We invite you to stay after for coffee hour in the Clara Barton Lounge or online in the same Zoom link. The lounge is just behind us there. So please remain after for snacks and service and fellowship. There is a visitor form on the back of your order of service that you can fill out. We invite you to do so we can get to know you better, or you can click on the link in the chat and complete that there so we can welcome you beyond what we can do here this morning. If you're looking to be more involved in our welcoming ministry or in our church in general, we have a number of ways. I'm just going to quickly list these off. We have coffee hour. We're always looking for volunteers with that, so you can email MJ Curry. We have the Eco Justice Group meeting today after service in the Chalice Room upstairs. We are looking to launch an LGBTQ social justice group. And we have a number of service projects in-house and potentially involving a playground project. So see me afterwards if you're interested in either of those. Before we take a moment to turn towards our neighbor, let's extend a greeting to our online community by waving towards the Progress Pride flag and the camera back there in the corner. If you're online, please pop into the chat to offer a greeting. We're happy you're here with us. And before we turn to our neighbors, we have a special neighbor to welcome today. Our new minister is sitting with us today, Reverend Eileen Casey Campbell. I told her to be prepared. We're going to mob her. She's planning to stick around for the coffee hour, so definitely find a time to connect with her. Okay. Let's take a moment to offer a greeting to each other this morning.
And as we wrap up our greetings, let us join together in singing our opening hymn, number 38, Morning Has Broken.
Good morning, church family. I am Kitty Forbush, and I am your worship associate for today. One of the cherished principles of our UU faith is to respect the inherent worth and dignity of all people. I just need to be honest with you for a moment. At this time, this one is really hard for me to honor. Anybody here agree with me? I appreciate your yes nods, especially in this current political theater. I am appalled what we hear said and seen done on a daily basis by the people who are supposed to govern with honesty and justice. So what do? I don't want to be in a state of anger, frustration, and even hatred sometimes. At this point in my life, I want joy. And echoing last week's subject, I want to let go, not worry, and be happy. But some days that seems almost impossible. But then I come here to our church and share with all of you the love we have for each other, our community, and for doing what's right. And I will continue to believe that fair-mindedness, kindness, and love will win out. It just has to. So come, let us worship together. As Lisa Gwinner comes forward to light our chalice at First Universalist, and you light a chalice in your own homes, please join me in our chalice lighting words spoken in unison. May we be people of welcome, here to grow in heart and mind and spirit, and we reach out to serve our community. Please rise in body or in spirit for our affirmation of faith, followed by our singing of the doxology. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To walk together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the source and meaning of life. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all. Our church depends on all of us. And each week we ask for you to share your treasure, no matter what amount, for your stewardship of our building, our ministers, our staff, our coffee hour, and the donations we make to our larger community come from your generosity, which is just another way to love. Please place your offering in the offering basket or give online by scanning the QR code on the back of your order of service. This is also a great time to place visitors' forms in the offering basket. For folks online, please click the link in the chat to give to First Universalist Church. Thank you for your generosity. This morning's offering will now be gratefully received. How do you make it come down? Just come help me. Oh, okay. You know, I am so good with tech. Okay, I do believe this should be our new national anthem. How sorrowful for when human rights are met with such disdain, when mercy is the laughing stock, while power is the gain. America, America, you've lost humanity. Resentment for the weak and poor will be your undoing. How sorrowful when hatred holds the gavel and the scales. How beautiful for humankind when selfless love prevails. America, America, abandon
hate and greed. There's so much more worth living for that starts with you and me.
Each Sunday morning, we take time with each other for the sharing of joys and concerns. When we share with one another our personal highs and lows, we enlarge our circle of love and strengthen our caring for one another. I invite you now into this sacred time where we share what's in our hearts and on our minds. If you would like to, you can place your hand over your heart to be able to listen from this heart-centered place. We know that so very much is going on in our world today, and if you have sorrows and joys to share on behalf of our national and global community, you are truly encouraged to do so today and into the future. As Kitty Forbush places stones into a bowl, I will read aloud the joys and sorrows of our gathered community. All online are also invited to share your joys and sorrows in the chat. From Connie, Paula Marchese is recovering from COVID. Cards and phone calls welcome. Pam Jacobstein is recovering from surgery on her hand. Jay Joslin shares a joy. He is joining the staff of the Survivor Advocacy Center of the Finger Lakes after an extensive job search. A joy from Dwight Ossipek Valley Music Festival. 5,000 people coming camping in the woods in Maine and behaving. From Tom and Carol Williams, a joy. We will have our first great-grandchild in January. Wow. You don't look old enough to be a grandfather. From Paula Marchese, grateful to be recovering from COVID. Many thanks for all the support I've received. From Lois and Greg Baum, a joy, a wonderful visit in our home with cousins that we haven't seen in ages. Today, we share in a community ritual to honor the many joys and sorrows we bring into this space, whether read aloud or kept in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. In a moment, those here in person are invited to come forward to drop stones into the bowl. If you need to remain seated, please raise your hand and someone can come with a bowl for you to drop stones in. If you are joining us online, please send a heart emoji into the meeting chat. Let us join in this collective ritual of honoring the joys and sorrows of us all. Now the circle of our care is drawn larger. May it increase forevermore. I invite you now to join with me in a spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, God, teach us to consider also how others experience the world, to understand how my reality and their reality are different, and yet they share qualities of the same core desire. Teach us to listen for shared feelings, for places of connection. Teach us to be curious and open to hearing differences. Teach us to love into brokenness, to give space for, to be patient with, healing. Let us be strong in our vulnerability, in our not knowing, in exposing our less than perfect scary bits to those in front of us. Give us courage to face judgment, scorn, and hatred because of the greater good. Let us be disciples of essential goodness, strong in our knowing that in each being, there is a divine light of the soul. Give us the strength to keep feeling empathy even when we are feeling tired and broken. For it is then that we are truly feeling the empathy of the world and from each other flowing in and through and around us. Blessed be. May it be so. Amen. Amen. And in the same spirit of contemplation, let us now join together in singing Spirit of Life. My cousin Charlie is a very good person. Now, I'll start right out by saying, his name is not really Charlie, but as I'm sure you will understand, when I tell personal stories, I often change names and sometimes some identifying information to protect people's privacy. But the rest of this is true. Charlie is a veterinarian. He's one of the few good old-fashioned country veterinarians left. He lives in the same farmhouse that he grew up in, and he has a little clinic out behind the house that my uncle built for him. He often has no staff working there at all, and he does everything himself. Now, his prices are ridiculously low. He keeps them low because he wants to make sure that his services are accessible to everyone who needs them. And he also feels that it's selfish and arrogant to overcharge for services. So he doesn't like to charge people too much. In fact, if you try to I tried once to overpay him and he sent it back. He never turns anyone away. He will often treat animals even when the owners can't pay at all, or he will let people make small little payments as they can make them. His cell phone is always on, and I have personally been there many times when he's had to leave the Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner table because someone calls him with a pet emergency. He truly feels that veterinary medicine is a calling, and he does the work that he does out of a profound love for animals. He's also very kind and compassionate with pet owners. He understands the deep emotions and connections that people have with their pets. He breaks bad news in an extremely gentle and compassionate way. And he feels the loss very deeply when he can't save an animal. I've personally been there and witnessed this. He grieves not only for the pet, but for the owners as well. Now, as you can imagine from the description I've given you so far, he is a beloved figure in the small town where he lives. I have, over the years, read countless Facebook posts from people attesting to just how kind and caring he is. And people often also, by the way, they also enjoy his offbeat and very corny sense of humor. He has a knack for telling the absolute corniest jokes in the world. And he also loves to tell oddball stories that would rival Rose Nyland's St. Olaf stories from the Golden Girls. And he often uses these jokes and stories to lighten the mood when he has frightened or anxious pet owners there who are worried about their pets. Charlie and I were born the same year, and we grew up together. And I can honestly say I have never really seen him get angry at anyone. He always goes out of his way to see the other person's point of view, and he sees things in the most fair and compassionate light. It can actually, probably all know people like this, it can actually sometimes be maddening when you want him to take your side in something. But he always tries instead to see the other person's point of view and their perspective as well, and tries to get you to soften your anger. He also tries harder than most people I know not to judge others. Charlie does not have an easy life. He has 2 disabled siblings, and in both cases he looks out for them and cares for them and is always there when they need him. And Charlie has a disabled son as well. His kindness, his compassion, and his dedication have always served his family very well. Charlie was one of the first members of my family to enthusiastically embrace my husband, Michael. They hit it off from the very first time they met, and when Michael was in ICU in 2008, Charlie and his wife were the only members of my family to make the nearly 2-hour trip in the December snow to see him and make sure we were okay. Charlie and his wife and his 3 children attended our wedding the following spring, and I can say that their support and their acceptance of our relationship has always been complete and unconditional. Charlie is extremely uncomfortable with racism and xenophobia. I've heard him express many times his discomfort when he has been privy to derisive comments based on race, national origin, disability, or other categories when people are trying to be stigmatizing. Charlie has also voted Republican his entire life, as far as I know, and he definitely voted 3 times for Donald Trump. I have to say, I do understand why he personally made this choice. It's the understanding that only comes from really knowing a person thoroughly that gives me not only the insight into why he votes the way he does, but also the ability to accept him the way he accepts me. Not that I accept his choices, but I separate him from his choices. And not only have we never argued over politics, we've never even discussed them at all, really, at any length. We understand that we are on completely opposite ends of the political spectrum, and I think partly we realize that it would be divisive to get into it. But on a deeper and more meaningful level, I think it's not an issue because so much more connects us than divides us. And I think you have to understand a person's whole history and what went into making them who they are to understand how they think and why they make some of the choices that they make. Charlie grew up on a working dairy farm, and from the time he was old enough to go to school, and I'm talking like first grade, he was up at 4 a.m. helping his father milk the cows every single day. He had to do the same thing every night before he had dinner, 7 days a week. Many of us probably know there is no such thing as a day off on a dairy farm. His summers were spent picking stones in the fields before his father plowed, baling hay, and selling sweet corn and other vegetables at a little stand alongside the road. There was no time for summer camp or playing sports or just goofing off. He worked every day. My aunt and uncle, his parents, were extremely and devoutly Catholic. The Catholic Church and its teachings were very, very much a part of their daily life. And as we all know, political positions that are very conservative, especially the anti-abortion message, are a constant presence in Catholicism. At Cornell University, Charlie studied very, very hard. Many people are surprised, I know, to find out how incredibly competitive it is to get into schools of veterinary medicine. I have been told that it is harder than getting into medical school. And given the fact that all of his studies were of a very technical and scientific nature, and he spent so much time devoted to them, I don't think he spent a lot of time pondering issues from a social sciences perspective the way I did. After he graduated from Cornell, he joined the Peace Corps, where he spent 3 years in a very Catholic South American country. And it was there that he met his devoutly Catholic wife and was married. When they returned to the U.S., they immediately moved right into the farmhouse where Charlie had grown up and where their nearest neighbor is half a mile down the road, and there they have stayed for the last 35 years. Now, Charlie and his wife are resolutely anti-choice. They truly believe that all abortion is a sin. And this belief is reinforced every week when they go to Mass. And their social circle is comprised mostly of other people who go to church with them or a few of their neighbors. I don't think this story got a lot of attention, but during last fall's election season, Pope Francis issued the incredible statement that there was no moral difference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. He viewed both of them as morally unfit to lead the nation. In Kamala Harris's case, mostly because she was pro-choice. And I'm sure that this reinforced Charlie's belief that Donald Trump was a better choice. We also have to remember that not everyone follows the news closely. Not everyone goes out of their way to dig for nuggets of truth behind the themes that are presented. And not everyone has regular exposure to NPR or Mother Jones. If you just pick up a little TV news here and there, the way I believe Charlie does, you get a lot of both sidism and a lot of sanitizing of what's really going on. The mainstream media outlets, for reasons that could merit a whole sermon on their own, have gone, in my opinion, out of their way since Donald Trump first appeared on the scene a decade ago to normalize him and downplay and outright ignore some of his most egregious acts. They feed us a steady diet of both sidism. The Democrats and the Republicans, they're just two sides of the same coin. So many people like Charlie, I believe, saw the difference between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump as more like the choice between Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter. You know, yes, I suppose they've got policy differences, and yes, they're both flawed human beings who sometimes say things we disagree with, but essentially they're both reasonable choices, aren't they? After all, weren't they both backed by major political parties and covered by the mainstream media as two perfectly reasonable choices? Okay. So what about all of the horribly racist, misogynist, xenophobic, and other really hateful things that Trump says? How could people like Charlie possibly ignore any of that? Well, I actually think there's a fairly easy explanation for that as well, and that also has its roots partly in television. We probably all remember good old Archie Bunker, the everyman, the bigot from All in the Family. Much has actually been written, it's very fascinating, do a little Google search. Much has been written on this topic over the last 10 years, and it actually makes a lot of sense to me. An unintended consequence of bringing Archie Bunker into our living rooms for a decade on Saturday nights was that he normalized the kind of rhetoric we now hear from the Republican Party. Like Trump, Archie Bunker was constantly spouting ignorant statements that were rooted in his conservative values, his limited worldview, his everyman populism, his fear of new ideas, and his fear of people who were different from him. But there was another aspect to Archie as well. And this is the aspect that made him much more palatable. If you really watch it and pay attention, he was, in spite of his rhetoric, an essentially kind and decent person. He loved his wife, he loved his daughter, he even loved his radical hippie son-in-law in spite of the constant bickering that they did and the sparring that they were doing with each other all of the time. At the end of the day, didn't they always all sit down and have dinner together and it looked like no real harm was done? Archie held antiquated views and said ignorant things, but he wasn't evil. He would never have burned a cross on someone's lawn or picketed the funeral of an AIDS victim, nor would he have ever attacked police officers on January 6th. Whenever, if you watch the shows, whenever Archie interacted with people of color or other people that were different from him, he did make as much of an effort as he could to be kind and considerate. The Bunker family at one point even had a transgender friend who was viciously murdered, and when this happened, Archie genuinely grieved. So, yes, he said things, ignorant things, bigoted things, outrageous things, but it was all just talk. The talk of a man who more than anything was scared of losing what little place he had in the world, in a world that was changing in ways that he wasn't prepared for and he didn't understand. And we identified with parts of him because most, if not all of us, had a father or a grandfather or an uncle or a neighbor who behaved exactly the same way. spouting ignorant nonsense in the privacy of his own home, but behaving decently and respectfully in the larger world. So to millions and millions of people across this country, people like my cousin Charlie, Donald Trump, I think, appears the same way. He's relatable to them because we all know people like him. In their view, yes, he says outrageous things, but he's an old man, right? And old men say things. That's just how they are. He doesn't mean half of it. It's all just talk. I've actually had a couple of coworkers tell me that, oh, he doesn't mean any of it. It's just talk. So, yes, of course, even these people who support him will say, that isn't right. He shouldn't talk that way. We don't agree with it. But at the same time, they say, in the end, he sounds just like Grandpa used to. And his underlying worldview makes a certain kind of populist, blue-collar kind of sense, doesn't it? I mean, aren't immigrants taking our jobs? Aren't we subsidizing the whole world to our detriment? Hasn't all of this political correctness kind of gotten out of hand? Aren't there perverts and pedophiles running loose through our schools? Aren't undocumented immigrants terrorizing our cities? Isn't Kathy Hochul about to storm into my kitchen and confiscate my gas stove? You have to keep in mind, they have heard these specious claims, these misrepresentations, these half-truths over and over and over again. They've heard it on the news. They've heard it from the pulpits of their churches. They've heard it from their friends. And many times they have heard it straight from the mouths of elected officials. U.S. senators, members of Congress, state governors, state legislators, and on it goes. Watch Fox and Friends for a couple of days, and you will hear all of this nonsense spewed out as undisputed fact. But it is, from what I understand, the #1 rated cable news network. So people watch it, and to them, it's the news. And they think to themselves, well, there are journalistic standards, aren't there? A major news outlet can't outright lie, can it? And this, all of this, is how we got here. This is how we ended up with a demagogue in the White House. It did not happen because people like my cousin Charlie are secretly evil, hateful, selfish bigots. Now, I am not denying that there are hateful bigots in the world, and I am not denying that, yes, they did help elect this man. But what I am saying is that there are millions and millions and millions of Americans who are just like my cousin Charlie. People who love their families, people who are kind and generous and good-hearted, people who are civic-minded and decent, people who attend weddings that they may not support in the abstract, but which make sense to them when they love the people who are involved. People who are afraid of an immigrant invasion, but love and respect the immigrants that they actually know. People that object to the United States feeding the world, but would give you the last $20 in their wallet if they thought that you were hungry or in need. In the weeks after the election this past fall, I had many conversations with people that went like this. This is essentially what they said. I'm done. I'm done. I could understand people who voted for him once, but to vote for him again, that's a bridge too far for me. I have to conclude that all of those people that voted for him again must be evil people. They must all be racists. They must all be misogynists. They must all be homophobes and xenophobes and all-around bigots. They must have hearts full of hate. I'm through being understanding. I'm through being tolerant. I'm through overlooking their political choices and trying to see the good underneath. I'm done with all of it. I don't care. Why should I have to do any of that anyway? Probably many of us had those conversations. And I have to say that in the same way that I understand why my cousin Charlie voted as he did, I understand why people felt this way and continue to feel this way, and why people said those things and continue to say those things. A part of me felt the same way then and still feels a bit the same way now. If I am completely honest, there is a part of me who secretly sneers when someone who voted for Donald Trump is now shocked or outraged by something that he does. It's human nature, I think, to feel this way. But at the same time, I cannot disown the many Charlies in my life, nor can I believe or accept for a minute that they are mean, selfish, hateful people. They are my family members, my neighbors, my coworkers, my former classmates, my former teachers. They are elderly adults that I looked up to as a child. They are people who have been kind and generous and loving and supportive to me. And I've seen them as well be kind and generous and loving and supportive to others. I've seen all of these people give to charities, volunteer their time, reach out to strangers, pray for their enemies. I cannot begin to explain where exactly the disconnect is or how it happens, but I can say with absolute certainty that it is there. That is the problem. And I believe that it is absolutely imperative that we recognize this reality and act accordingly. As justice-oriented, compassionate people of faith and goodwill, we must always be able to see, and willing, to see the heart and soul behind a person's politics. Hopefully, a lesson that we learned from the last Trump term was that severing ties with those who vote differently than we do doesn't work and doesn't help solve the problem. If that sort of separation and division had worked, we wouldn't find ourselves back here for the second time in a decade. And demonizing these people and simply writing them off as evil bigots is not only unfair and unjust, but intellectually dishonest and completely counterproductive to building a more just, peaceful, and equitable world. I know it's hard, I know it's a challenge, and I know a lot of us probably don't even feel like doing it anymore. And I know we're discouraged and disheartened by everything that we see going on around us, and it's hard not to resent the people that we see may have brought that to us. But I still believe that we must continue to look beyond people's politics and see what is truly in their hearts. I guarantee you that they are all doing kind, loving, compassionate, and helpful things every day. 5 minutes in a voting booth does not undo 5 decades of charitable acts. And these relatives and friends and neighbors are going to suffer right along with us when the bad things happen. Tragically, it is probably going to take a measure of collective suffering before many people on the other side of the political spectrum begin to understand what it is they have voted for. And when that happens, the solidarity that comes from connection will be far more valuable and useful to the world than the I told you so's that come from division. Excuse me. Now, I'm not saying in any way that I agree with or excuse anything that I see the Trump administration doing. And I'm also not saying or trying to suggest in any way that all of this rhetoric doesn't do damage. but we have a duty to separate the words and deeds of elected officials from the people in our own lives who may have voted for them. We all have Charlies in our lives, people we love and respect and feel connected to, who nevertheless voted for something that we can't support for reasons that we can't or don't understand. So, who are the Charlies in your life? Who do you love and admire in spite of who they vote for? Take a moment and ask yourself right now, what matters more in this interpersonal relationship? Their loving presence in your life, or the box they check on a ballot once a year? A big part of how we got to the absolutely abysmal political place that we are now in is that the powerful were successful in sowing the seeds of division in millions and millions of insidious ways over several decades, in subtle ways that we probably didn't even all see or understand. And this poison found its way to formerly collegial workplaces, peaceful neighborhoods, and formerly harmonious Thanksgiving tables. It severed important ties between loving people. So an important part of reversing the trajectory that we are now on is to end these estrangements if they exist and work hard to prevent them going into the future. It is what our Unitarian Universalist faith calls us to do. Respecting the inherent worth and dignity of every person truly means every person. Justice, equity, and compassion in human relations means in all human relations, even when we are relating to people we vehemently disagree with. The worthy goal of an equitable world community with peace and liberty and justice for all will never come about if we can't see beyond the politics to the hearts and souls of the people who challenge us most. It's not always easy, but I can guarantee you it is always worth it. This past Monday morning, Michael and I had a huge shock. In literally the space of 2 minutes, our healthy young cat went from being fine to dying suddenly. It happened at about 5:00 a.m. I can tell you, knowing that that cell phone is always on, I didn't hesitate to call Charlie and get him out of bed. There are times when it comes in handy to have a veterinarian in the family. He was his usual kind and compassionate self as he helped me absorb the shock and process what might have happened. He reassured me over and over and over that there was nothing that we could have done to change what had happened. And in the way that those who love us most do, he let me repeat the same questions over and over and over again, and patiently gave me the same answers over and over again for about an hour. And then he patiently listened to Michael do the same thing. He did not end the call until he was sure that we were okay. I can absolutely assure you that at no time during that conversation did it matter who he voted for last November. And now let's join together in our closing hymn, Love Will Guide Us. Please remain standing as Kitty Forbush extinguishes our chalice flame this morning, and let us read together the words printed on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again. As we close our service this morning, I invite you again to place a hand over your heart. If you are joining us online, I invite you to turn your settings to gallery view and look upon the faces of those here with you. For those of us in this room, take a moment to look around at those here with you today. Our work has just begun, the work of holding one another and this community in love, the work of trusting that we are on the right path, the work of believing that what connects us is stronger than what separates us, the work of engaging in that which makes us whole, the work of deeper understanding and commitment, the work of letting go of that which does not serve us, the work of radical inclusion, the work of collective liberation, the work of this beloved community, a beloved community of which we are all a part. And let us say together, amen. Everyone is invited to join us for coffee hour immediately after the service in the Clara Barton Lounge or online in the current Zoom meeting. We hope to see everyone there.
This is a song of unity. It's a familiar song, and you're all invited and encouraged to sing along. If you don't know the words, you can hum, you can ooh, or you can listen. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from a redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. Well, this land was made for you and me. Well, as I went walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me the endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. Well, this land was made for you and me. So this land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from a redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Well, I've roamed and rambled, I followed my footsteps o'er sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me this voice came sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from a redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I followed your low hills, I followed your cliff runs, your marble canyons and sunny bright waters. This voice came calling as the fog was lifting. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from a redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As the sun was shining and I was strolling through the wheat fields waving and the dust clouds rolling, I could feel inside me, see all around me, that this land was made for you and me. Last time, this land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from a redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me.